Oh yeah, Final Fantasy's greatest solo achievement. Oh no, we have time for this. 30 minutes. We have time for this. Yeah. We can watch this. All right, let's watch this, and then we're gonna go UCOB. Okay? Let's do it, baby. Where are the eels? Yeah, that guy. Okay, this is Rinon. I like Rinon's videos. They're decent, aren't they? They're decent. FF14's greatest solo achievement. I said this earlier, but I think Final Fantasy's greatest solo achievement was actually Pint ascending the tower. Ascending Kugane. It's about necromancer. Oh, well, don't spoil it! Zacade, we're a blind mind stream here. No, okay, cool. So let's find out what this is going to be about. Seems like we already know, but we'll see how this goes, and then we'll go do some UCOB. Okay, FF14's greatest solo achievement. What do you got for me, Rinon? Hit me with it.
FF14 is a game utterly packed with difficult group content to test you and your friends' mettle to the very limits. 19-minute gauntlets requiring utter perfection in ultimates. Savage criterion.
Bro, I can't get over it. Hold on, really quick. Just listen to this guy's voice really quick.
This episode sponsored by War Thunder. The producers of The Pacific wanted to come back to finish the job.
When Band of Brothers came out,
He was working as a feature writer for the newspaper The Bergen Record when the Japanese Empire attacked
Dungeons where if you make a single mistake from the 20+ minute runtime, start to finish,
Pearl Harbor. In response to what he saw, Lecky volunteered at the age of 21.
I joined the Marines.
They are the same person, right? They're definitely.
Final Fantasy XIV is a game utterly packed with difficult group content to test you and your friends' mettle to the very limits.
It's quiet? Is it actually quiet? Dude, there's no way it's quiet. People always say stuff on my stream is quiet, and there's like no way. I just don't believe them.
19-minute gauntlets requiring utter perfection in ultimates. Savage criterion dungeons where if you make a single mistake from the 20+ minute runtime, start to finish, you wipe and need to go back from the beginning again. And huge 48-player raids, where in order to even attempt them, you need to meticulously prepare for dozens of hours, leveling and obtaining consumables, and getting a like-minded, capable group together.
For 48-man raids, you have to put in tons of work?
Groups in this game. Despite being an MMO...
Like, how many people actually do that? How many people actually, like, coordinate... Do people coordinate a 48-player... Behind Eureka? Oh, is this like Eureka? And did they do one for Bozia as well? Is this how you get the mount that I really want? My favorite mount in the game. Right. So, but is there a lot of planning that goes into it? Like assignments for who's going to be where for what, bloody blah, 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 blah? Or not so much? Pretty common to clear in one evening now? Okay. Okay, getting this time investment? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah. Cool.
Some of the most crushing, daunting achievements are those for beating group content, but completely on your own. Enter Palace of the Dead, Heaven on High, and Eureka Orthos. These randomly generated dungeons are truly devilish, packed with enemies that have one-shot mechanics with no telegraphs whatsoever. Completely invisible traps which can blow away your progress.
I play World of Warcraft. Lack of telegraphing is my specialty, okay? Don't worry about me.
In a second, and its own in-house leveling system, meaning that every time you enter, you're building back up from square one. And it's not just one dungeon you have to get through either. Before you get to take a break and catch your breath, you need to pass an entire segment of 10 floors, with the exit of each floor set being guarded by a dangerous boss. Each floor requires a number of mob kills to open the portal to the next floor too, so you can't just sneak your way past. Why would you need a checkpoint, you might ask? Well, it's because each deep dungeon has at the very least 100 floors. The earlier floors are relatively relaxed and can be queued with random players, but as you make it through to the greater numbers, it's reserved for pre-made groups, marking it as a true endgame activity. Deep dungeons are generally intended to be taken on with a party of 3 other players to back you up, allowing you to make up for one another's mistakes. When somebody dies, you pick them back up. When an enemy attacks, the tank will take it, being the shield that protects the group. When an enrage casts, the DPS will begin their burst, deleting the monsters in a moment. But solo, you don't have access to any of that. All you have is your own skill and awareness, and if you slip for a moment, it's over. Back to floor 1. Why would you put yourself through this in the first place, I hear you ask? Well, I would tell you that I love a challenge and it sounds like a bunch of fun, but I would be lying. There's a much, much better reason to fight against the odds.
A title.
The titles are pretty good.
Yeah.
Lone Hero.
By the way, I should point out that I do plan on doing these one day, but there would have to be such a complete content drought for me in order to actually tackle this, because the time I would need to do this would just be insane. Because I'm trying to stream 2 games at once, right? I'm playing this and I'm playing WoW, so like I would have to have a drought in both games, or at least like one of the, like, you know what I mean? I need to be caught up and know that there's no new content coming out for a little while. So this is something that I do want to do, but it just seems like a massive investment. So, do this during a WoW drought? Yeah, but at the same time, if I've got like tons of Final Fantasy content to do, then this has to go on the back burner. Because this is something like, I don't want this to delay me getting into World First rating. Or not World First rating, but Week 1 rating. Like, you know, dedicated rating, I should say. At the beginning of a new Ultimate or a new Savage or something. So yeah, this will definitely be something I do later on. Very interesting though. So no telegraphing. That kind of spooks me. This is giving me feelings that I've been having in like hardcore, where I'm just like, ooh, everything's gonna be. I'm gonna be having that same feeling of, is this about to kill me? Do I need to be careful here?
Once and Future Queen.
Yes, Sky.
Standing above them all, the Necromancer. To own even one of these titles is considered a triumph, a sign that you kept your cool under pressure and emerged victorious. But on and off, I've been on a quest to obtain all 3. Lone Hero fell first, and I made a video about the experience of conquering Heaven on High's 100 floors and making it to the top at long last. Next came Once and Future.
How long would you say these take for people to do on average? Like, if you're really dedicated to it and you're like decent at the game? Is this like something that if you do 8 hours a day, it's gonna take you a month to execute it from start to finish? A week? Oh, so just like, wait, what? A couple days? Okay, hold on. I think you guys are answering different questions. Okay, I don't mean like how long does it take, assuming you just do one run perfectly. Obviously, there's going to be learning it and all that kind of stuff. So, it's like a knowledge check. So, how long do you think it will take to acquire the knowledge and then execute it? Are we talking, yeah, like a week, a month, months, a year? Like, it can't be a year because Rinon's doing 3 of them. They're not sacrificing every day, all day for 3 years. No chance. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're including the learning, and you said... How long did you say? But okay, yeah, so... Okay. Interesting. A day or 2? World first? Okay. No shot a week? Oh, so wait, you think I could knock this out in a few days? Like, if I just dedicated, like... Let's say I dedicated 5 10-hour streams to this. Could I do it in a week? %, think you can do it in a week? Guys, I am an Ultimate Raider, remember? No? Maybe? Because you died to grabbing a chest in WoW? Yeah, isn't this thing, like, full of chests?
Guys,
Okay.
he literally died in WoW to a chest, do you really think?
There it is. It's right there. Look at it. Just staring at me menacingly. It wants to be clicked. By God, I'll click it.
Future Queen, obtained from besting the 100 floor depths of Eureka Orthos, And I streamed all that. And now, I was going to take on the greatest challenge of all. The Deep Dungeon to end Deep Dungeons. One that dwarfs
Just
even
boring?
the other two. Palace of the Dead. To get the Necromancer from Palace, you need to make your way through 200 floors of progressively increasing difficulty.
I don't get
fighting
bored if
trash
chat's
mobs
fun.
that can nuke a DPS in just a few auto attacks, and facing up versus some of the hardest bosses Deep Dungeon has to offer full stop, including one fearsome foe that is considered the greatest.
That's a
battle of all.
penis. He's pixelated it, which means it's definitely a penis.
With entire strategies and sets of timings dedicated to felling it on each and every job, because you need to deal with it in a different way based on the nuances of the class you choose. A single run can take upwards of 15 hours. 15 hours of precise, painstaking safety aiming. After release, it took around a year and a half for the very first Necromancer to be crowned.
Wow.
I'm going to try and become the newest. But before you can even attempt it, you need to go through multiple layers of prep to have a real shot of taking home the win. I mentioned that each deep dungeon has its own leveling system, but it also has its own gearing system. You need to collect these Aether Pool buffs from chests and floor set completions, which are almost entirely obtained at random, and they cap at plus 99 on the weapon and plus 99 on the armor. And grinding them out, it takes hours. On top of that, special sustaining potions exist, which can be popped on a 30-second cooldown to give you a powerful regeneration effect. And to obtain them, you need to trade in potsherds, which, you guessed it, drop randomly from chests within the dungeon itself.
Right,
Luckily,
okay.
a few quick 5-hour runs of Palace of the Dead as a group is enough to cap out and collect the potsherds I needed. The other most important thing to figure out is which job I wanted to commit to going for my clear on. Out of the 19 options, there were 3 clear
If you play tank, you cringe, okay? Just saying.
standouts to choose between. Red Mage, with equally potent damage and healing capabilities. A classic top pick for Deep Dungeon because it brings the 2 most important traits into Deep Dungeon. Survivability and kill speed in one neat little package. It was the most popular Palace of the Dead solo job for years for a reason.
Okay, if you play
Machinist
Red
offering the highest
Mage, you
sustained damage at
cringe.
the cost of safety. Yeah, you can nuke everything, but you need to utilize good kiting and potion timings to keep yourself alive in the later floors. Machinist was high risk, high reward. Lastly, Warrior. Thanks to raw intuition, the job had unparalleled healing capabilities, but because it was a tank, your damage was on the low end. You're trading the ability to take on the even harder mobs for being in a race against time to get to the 10th floor in the set before the instance timer runs dry. In Heaven on High, I chose Warrior. In Eureka Rothos, I took Machinist. And now, in Palace of the Dead, I decided to bring out the axe once more. After months on end of promising I'd give it a try, and even one failed attempt that went terribly wrong when I came up against the real FF14's superboss, the 90k error. I had finally committed, queued up, and locked in. The opening floors ease you into.
Oh, he didn't DC
the most
mid-run,
complicated
okay.
mechanic you're going to deal with is a small AoE to dodge, or an auto attack to take.
Or a
But you
chest.
still need to take your time and be careful, because there's something in these early floors you need to obtain as they're going to be essential to victory later down the road. Pomanders. These provide buffs that will make or break my attempt. Some are straightforward, like straight damage or defense ups. Others can reduce the number of enemies on an upcoming floor, give you a 50-50 chance of getting a room full of easy, instant kill Corrigans, or something altogether more menacing, or even transform you into a monster capable of killing every enemy in a single hit for a
Oh, this
limited
is
period
easy.
of time. You can have up to 3 of each individual variety of Pomander at any given time, and there are 16. Collecting a full stash of Poms was my goal, in preparation
Final
for the
Fantasy
inevitable
16.
difficulty spike later down the road. So I got to work. I don't remember this fight, like, at all. Oh, it has fucking telegraphs, okay.
Oh, it's Edda?
That's the in. Yo, thank you very much. Damn, they did the out.
Oh, of course, because she's Palace of the Bro, she's Palace of the... Sorry, I know I'm missing, like, what he's saying. But she's Palace of the Dead, Schmemanigans. Ooh. No, I already knew... It is technically spoilers, but I did know that she was associated with this. Everyone in chat like was in it like, oh, you'll see more of her later. She's in Palace of the Dead. So I knew it was coming.
Telegraphs, okay. That's the in. Yo, thank you very much. Damn, they did the out, then the in. That's wild.
Stand and let things
Well,
resolve.
that wasn't too bad. There was basically nothing in the first 100 floors that proved much of a threat, and they went down quickly. If anything, I was a little taken aback by how chill they'd been. The first 9 floors would take 15 minutes or so to power through, then you'd fight a boss for a couple of minutes that didn't really do much of anything. It was a far cry from some of the speedy gauntlets the likes of you.
Yo, flipping Painsmith, bro. Wait, what is that's
really
sick.
Do much of anything. It was a far cry.
I mean, simple, easy solution, but
From some of the speedy gauntlets that the likes of Eureka.
oh, they do diagonal ones. That's cool.
Within a few hours, I was passing the halfway point of my first attempt, and things were looking great. But the second half of Palace of the Dead is where things change. From this point onwards, a failed mechanic.
Did Rinon say whether they did this fully blind or what was their situation? From the sounds of it, this wasn't blind. Well, no, from the sounds of it, this is blind. They're like, oh, this thing didn't do anything. This thing didn't do anything. 100% using Guy. It's... Oh, then... Oh, okay, they're making it seem like they... In a way, were like, oh, I got to this boss and, oh, what happens? Oh, okay, nothing.
Mechanic can often just flat out one-shot you, throwing you all the way back to floor 1, and where, increasingly, each trash mob encounter becomes something to carefully plan around, and in some cases they can be so dangerous that you need to avoid them entirely. Luckily we weren't deep in Fear City quite yet, as 101 through to 170 went fairly smoothly. Before I knew it, and by before I knew it, I mean at the low cost of almost 10 hours of my real-time life, I'd completed floor 170. You'd be forgiven for thinking that this whole Palace of the Dead arc seemed, well, kind of easy, but the worst was absolutely yet to come. From now on, I would need to pass the greatest challenges that Deep Dungeon has.
So she's very
186
backloaded.
to 189. 3 dreaded floors which I've often heard quoted as being the reason that you stockpile all those pomanders, because you're going to be using them liberally to even get through. The final 3 floor sets as a whole, or as a warrior, it can take me like a minute to slay one single enemy, leading to the clock becoming as great a challenge as staying alive on the floors themselves. And the greatest battle of all,
The penis.
the Behemoth.
Oh, yeah, that's Behemoth.
I needed to go in with a plan.
Behemoth.
Because time was of the essence, I decided that my best course of action was to open floor 171 with aggression, liberally burning pomanders to help me surge through quickly, and using fortunes to increase my chest drop rate to recoup the losses. And by I decided, I mean that's the advice I read from the guys who had done this 1,000 times.
Right.
To me it sounded pretty smart. So here's the full plan. We go in and immediately pop our very limited auto-race pomander for the sake of progression. Then we use sight to forcibly reveal the locations for all of the traps on the floor, meaning that we can then move around relatively freely without issue. Now floor 171 to 173 has a higher spawn rate for bomb traps, a type that you usually want to avoid at all costs, because stepping in one of these deletes 80% of your max HP. And if you take one while not quite fully topped or in an encounter, it's just going to eliminate you entirely. But we could use this to our advantage, because landmine traps also affect enemy mobs. So using Warrior's defensive cooldowns and survivability as a tank, we're going to locate a landmine trap, grab as many mobs as possible, being careful to avoid those with dangerous mechanics. We bait them all over to the landmine, and we go down together. Using Holmgang we survive easily, and comboing it with Raw Intuition will heal us back to full, and then we can easily and quickly kill an entire floor's worth of enemies.
Told you Warriors cringe.
As if nothing goes wrong. And God, there's a lot that can go wrong. 171 begins, and I start strong, searching for my landmine trap, picking up the easiest mobs I can find with Tomahawk as I go. And then disaster struck. Despite there being a higher spawn chance for them, there was not a single landmine on my entire floor, and like an idiot I had already picked up 4 mobs and kited them around for the last 30 seconds. The only options I had was to die, or to burn a defensive steel and 2 of my witchings to turn them into chickens and kappas, and finish them off while they were helpless. This wasn't the ideal start. I trudged to 172
And a mimic.
began chest hunting, hoping to recuperate my early losses. but instead of rewards, I kept running into mimics, eating into my precious time. Mimics weren't awful by any means. They deal a lot of damage and have enough HP that they take a while to kill, but the real issue was it meant that I wasn't working on clearing a safe passageway to the exit. And in the cases where they didn't drop a fresh chest on defeat, it hampered my chances of building my Pomander collection back up. At these endgame sections, most floors also came with
The
inhibiting
gloom
debuffs to make things
spreads.
even worse, and on 173 I got Gloom, strengthening enemy attacks against me, meaning that even on Warrior I had to be very, very careful and plan my mitigation well to avoid death. My Mimic streak continued too, and I watched my time slowly whittle away, knowing that I'd have to use more of my precious stash to catch back up. Then while fighting my million...
They still have 50 minutes and they did 3 floors in or like 2.5 floors or whatever in 9 minutes, which seems reasonable.
millionth Mimic in 2 floors. I gained a friend. Wait, no, 2 friends. These wolves were monsters I had been warned about. Their attacks apply a massive dot, which can be dangerous at the best of times. But here on a Gloom floor, and with 2 of them, alongside a Mimic that was almost a death sentence. If I wasn't on tank, I would be dead in seconds.
Told you.
As tank though, I held on, barely surviving, rotating my cooldowns and burning my self heals, praying for a break.
Rampart's coming back
But it
up.
wasn't enough. Dead. My auto raise went off, and I ran away from that last damn wolf with my tail between my legs.
What?
My attempts to save time.
Bro, this is so easy. All the items in the world. Playing tank. Has a free battle res. He said it didn't even get difficult until 170 level. You only have 30 levels left. It's like 20 minutes. Snacku has a meme ready. Okay, hold on. This is a P3S. Oh my god. This is a high effort meme. Holy shit. Oh my god. Yo, this is my VTube model. Wow. Okay, this is our P3S prog. Yeah, prog has been going has been going great pretty much, no problems whatsoever. All we need to do is learn how to count, and we got this for sure. Why can't they count? Why can't Final Fantasy players count? You just have to count to 8. You just have to count to 8, dude. That's so glorious. Holy shit. Oh, that's fantastic, Snacku. Keep them coming. I love that. Oh my goodness.
Had amounted to nothing. My chest luck had been awful, and now I had a weakness to my name. The next handful of floors went mostly without event, and on floor 175 we got introduced to the boys. Big monkeys which beat their chest outside of combat, giving you a vuln up if you're caught in their range, and Anzus which stun you for heavy damage on repeat, and need you to play extremely safe while fighting. I always had my eye out for both of these mobs, and I managed to avoid any more.
Okay, 28 minutes left, and he's got 3
Before
floors.
Long, I was
or 2
passing
and a bit.
through to 180. The boss of floor 180 is the Behemoth, the wall for Palace of the Dead solo runs. The majority of this boss encounter is fairly relaxed, with you needing to place and then avoid Charybdis tornadoes, leaving yourself enough space to dodge huge cleave attacks that follow, all while healing through the high-hitting autos. On tank this is especially simple, and it honestly doesn't pose much of a threat. But when Behemoth hits 16%, he begins his enrage sequence, and the game
I think I remember seeing this dude. I think I've seen a video before with this dude doing this. I think somebody sent me, like, this boss.
changes. He summons meteors back to back, chunking almost your entire HP bar off in every single hit. And he keeps doing it, either until you die or he dies. This part of the fight is so...
He Angelus Demonis, who has a clear on every job for every deep dungeon. Okay, he clearly just, like, he just got tired of PFing. He was clearly, like, a really great, fantastic, ultimate Savage Raider. And then he was just like, man, I'm so sick of PF. Or he just never got invited. That would be, like, I could see me doing this. I could see me being like, oh, I never get invited to any content. I'm just going to do deep dungeons. Plays with only keyboard. Okay, how hard can it be? This guy's done it on every class and he plays with a keyboard. He probably plays with the monitor turned off. Guys, this is going to be so easy. I'm probably going to one-shot this.
So tough that every job has a completely individual recommended rotation and setup to deal with it. And should you press even one button wrong, it's likely going to cost you the run. For Warrior, that setup relies on you building full gauge early, having as much time
full
as
gauge
possible on your storm.
I've never gone full gauge. I've not even got a little bit gauge. Chat.
Damage buff going into the enrage sequence, and applying 5 stacks of Vuln to Behemoth using the Succubus
I told you it was
as
penis,
well as
boss.
the strength to up your damage. Then, you wait for the perfect moment, exactly as Behemoth is locked into an extended caster animation to mount your attack. This lets you chip away his HP as much as possible before
Mount full
the enrage
gauge
sequence even begins. And as it does, you'll rotate your healing cooldowns, sustaining potion, a healing potion.
Yeah, I think Denki, you mentioned something about like a boss where you have to wait for the enrage and then you have to blast everything and kill him before he casts.
And your invuln, all to barely survive a handful of attacks. And then, you hope that your damage is enough to take him down before he takes you down. That was the plan, at least. The first section of the boss went perfectly for me, with well-placed Charybdis, good mitigations, and solid uptime. Without too much problem, I was facing down the enrage, and at 22% I began my setup. The strength was popped, my gauge was mostly full, and I transformed into a succubus to apply the vaults.
A succubus full gauge?
And at 16%, I sheathed my axe and waited for my moment. There it was. The fell cleaves came out, and before the first ecliptic meteor hit, the boss had already lost 7% of his HP. Raw intuition, thrill of battle, and my sustaining potion were used as planned. But to me it didn't look like enough. I'd messed up. The boss keeps auto-attacking during this final onslaught, and I'd totally forgotten. I didn't have enough HP left to survive the next hit.
That's okay. I'll just use a tank invuln.
It was going to be over. I was going back to floor 1. So I panic popped Equilibrium to save my life. The pull kept going, but...
What's Equilibrium? What does that do? Is that a tank thing? Please tell me it's a tank thing so I can be justified. It's a warrior heal? Tank thing? Oh, I told... See, easy.
But now I'd lost the heal that I had planned and needed for later. Build more gauge, fell cleave, hit hard, hit fast. Holmgang was next, this was no problem.
Tank invuln, okay.
But now I had nothing left afterwards because of my earlier mistake. It wasn't going to be enough. The run was over. 1%. The cast was done. It's going off, me or him. Somehow I'd done it. My luck had turned. My last auto attack on the boss, for 729 damage, was the difference maker.
Wow.
Next came 181 to 190, arguably the toughest 10 floors that Palace of the Dead has to offer.
Well done.
The plan was to burn my Pomanders liberally to make it through the early floors with time to spare, just like before, because I needed roughly 12 minutes when I made it to the boss in order to beat him in time. That is assuming that I managed to beat him in one try, because even with raising, if I died...
That's something I am worried about is like, every mob in this thing is called Deep Palace something, and I think if I was in here for 400 hours, I would start reading it as deep dish pizza. You know what I mean? Maybe it's the deep and the P. Maybe it's the DP. Deep dish pizza. Start getting hungry, you know what I mean?
I would not have enough time left to finish the fight. I needed to get ahead early, and then I would use my most powerful Pomander, Rage, to sweep through as much of 187 to 189 as possible. These 3 floors are the most deadly that any deep dungeon has to offer, with tons of patrolling chimeras which aggro by sheer proximity, casting their speedy one-shot untelegraphed AoEs. Pulling more than one at a time would be the absolute
Can you
worst
fall
case
off?
scenario, and considering that I'd used all my witchings by this point, I couldn't do anything about it if it happened. All
Okay.
the way up to 185, things seemed to be going pretty well.
So
I
they-
didn't have the night.
So you can't fall off these cliff edges. See, it's like bowling with the bumpers up, okay? That's what Deep Dungeon is.
Marish start that I had in the last set, and my Pomanders were being utilised to great effectiveness, cutting a sway through everything that had the misfortune of running into me. Time wasn't looking fantastic, with me entering 185 with 37
Only
minutes left on the
36
timer, of
minutes.
my initial total of 60. But I was banking on making back the deficit from speedy rage floors a little later down the line. Here, at this point, single pulls were king. And it was
Yeah,
important,
thank you.
especially as a tank, to ensure that I was chain pulling almost constantly. Because time wasn't on my side, if I wasn't always hitting something and always keeping Berserk on cooldown, I was wasting my resources, making my own life.
Yeah, always be fighting, always be killing. Whenever you're not using resources, it's waste. Yeah, Yeah, this is definitely, this is a lot harder than Hardcore Classic because, like, the advantage of this is you could just go in again and you just, like, start again. Okay, you're starting from floor number 1. It takes you about 10 hours to get back up to 170. There's a lot, this is, like, a decent amount of prep or whatever. But, okay, you know, like, gotcha. But, very similar stuff. I do feel like playing Hardcore has better got me into the mentality for this. Plus, obviously, my Mythic Plus experience. I feel like it would take me a long time to do these. It's all about experience. Like, I am joking, obviously, when I say how easy this is. I'm joking, obviously. But I think that... I think this would be quite hard because this is, like, the difference between this and Hardcore WoW is Hardcore WoW is not difficult. This actually has difficult components to it, I think. You know? Like that boss with the Enrage where you're like, you have to pop everything perfectly and time it perfectly. Like, that's harder than anything that you have to do in Classic Hardcore, that's for sure, yeah. I do want to do one of these one day. I'm just thinking about when I would do it and how long it would take. But yeah.
Life harder. Carefully selecting these targets had been really effective, and here I was picking up these free Vinthers and avoiding the much more dangerous, sound-baited crawlers.
Don't
This
start with
worked
Palace.
brilliantly.
I'll probably start with a new one that releases in Dawn Trail. So that way I can do it with everybody when it's current, and maybe that might actually be some interesting stream content where people are like, oh, it's the new one, I want to go, oh, sick. What do people like with these when it comes to spoilers? I know people are like, some people for MSQ, people are like, oh, I can't watch the stream because it's MSQ week. Nobody streams during the MSQ week because everybody wants to do MSQ. For the raid, some people go and do it blind or whatever kind of. Well, actually, nobody does it blind. Everybody does it with a guide, don't they? But what about for palaces? Like, do people, or deep dungeons? Do people don't know anyone that cares about the spoilers? Okay, so it might be decent stream content when it's new. Maybe. Okay, cool. Interesting. The other thing I was going to say this at the end of the video, but I don't want to forget. But I like this video because it's kind of like a guide, and it's kind of like a hype trailer, you know what I mean, at the same time? Like, he's kind of telling you some of the really important bits, but then also it's not a full-on guide. We're saying, okay, floor 1, you're going to want to... Floor number 2... He's very much focusing on kind of hyping it up as well as kind of telling you some of the spooky bits.
Until having picked up a Vinther safely from this crowded, dangerous room, I forgot to stealthily walk during my retreat, accidentally grabbing a crawler along the way. Boom. Another auto-revival.
It's so weird. It's so weird for me that you can pull one mob at a time. Like, if I pulled this crawler right here, I would expect this whole room here to pull. Maybe not the Vinthers or the Deep Palace, whatever, bleep, But I'd expect all 5 of these mobs here to pull. It's so weird. I can't get over it. I only just realized this in Criterion's. So interesting. You can see what mobs are linked. No. Is there a way to tell? Yeah, Rinon's videos are great. Mobs pull differently based off of what they are. Some are sight, some are sound, some are proximity. What? Okay. I know if you go behind a mob, they can't see you, right? You can do anything. You can do aerobics behind mobs. Go to low-level zones right now and hover over an enemy. I will after this video. Maybe this triangle thing... This triangle thing just means it's going to attack you. Right? It's hostile.
Dangerous room. I forgot to stealthily walk during my retreat, accidentally grabbing a crawler along the way. Boom. Another auto-revive burned. I was running out.
Wait, how did you get all these auto-revives?
Because Pomander of Raising could not drop at all this deep into Palace of the Dead.
You get 3.
Every one that I used here was one I'd never get back. I begrudgingly popped another, leaving just one remaining, and continued.
Oh, I forgot I was in Discord. Whoa, spooked me.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, you're gonna max to 3, right? Gotcha.
Onwards.
So all the little buff items that he has, those are RNG you get from like chests.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, a chest has a chance of not being an item. It can
Being a
also
mimic.
be a mimic.
Okay.
So generally the practice is on the low level floors where it's still safe, you stock up as many things as you can, and then you don't use them unless you have to.
So he's got 1 more life left for, well, technically 2 lives, because he can die, res 1 more. He's got this life, and then he can die and res 1 more time. So he's got, 1 more life,
Well, the other fucked up part too is you're not always, because when you get res, it doesn't give you like immunity or anything. So like, say you're in a room that's like a room full of like mimics or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And you die in the middle of that room, and it auto reses you. You're just gonna die again. So you can die in bad spots too.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, you have to be careful where you die. Okay, gotcha.
It happened again. While fighting one of those dreaded chimeras with the HP debuff floor effect active, making it way more dangerous, my concentration lapsed for a second. I'd been in the Deep Dungeon Blender for over 6 hours on that day by that point, and while it's kind of understandable that my mind would slip to other things at least once or twice, it couldn't have come at a worse time. As I looked away to check the positioning of a currently non-aggressive, patrolling chimera in the distance, the Ram's voice cast begun, and I hesitated, unable to get out of the way in time.
Oh!
Boom. Auto raise gone. I decided to save my final one on the hope, or maybe cope.
Oh, and he flipping rezzed immediately instead of waiting for it to walk off.
You can't. You have no control. It auto reses you.
Oh, right. Okay, gotcha.
191, meaning that for the rest of this set, I couldn't afford another mistake.
That's what
But
I
it
mean by
wasn't
you can
too
die in a
bad,
bad spot.
Because 2 rages later, I made it through to floor 190 with just enough time to complete the boss. The 190 boss is called the Godfather. He's certainly not as infamous as Behemoth, but absolutely deadly on its own right. This boss, aside from heavy auto attacks and massive avoidable sap AoEs, will spawn his little bomb buddies. But some of these little bomb buddies have a lot more to them than just an exploding AoE. In sequence, a remedy bomb will spawn, then a little later, a lava bomb. Remedy bombs cast an enrage, and they need to be quickly dispatched in order to avoid their scary instant death cast. But with lava bombs, the boss will instead begin casting an enrage of its own, and you need to quickly knock the lava bomb into him before it explodes, so that the AoE from the lava bomb's explosion hits the Godfather, stunning him and resetting his enrage sequence. Well, you could do that, or you could do what I did instead. Because the large bomb spawn locations are not random, instead following a fixed static rotation, I just brought up a handy little picture showing where all the lava bombs would spawn on my second screen and pre-positioned the boss for each one, meaning that when the moment came, I just had to stand and let things resolve. Because this
Uh-oh. He said the line. He said the line. Hold on, when was this video made? A year ago. Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
This was a very long fight. I'd be aiming to burn my lust pomanders, just like in Behemoth. But this time I'd be keeping 5 stacks on the boss for as long as possible and shortening the whole endeavor exponentially. And finally, with 5 minutes left on my timer, he went down. I had made it to the final 10 floors of Palace of the Dead.
On his first attempt.
Pomanders were looking alright too. If I played my cards right, didn't make too many mistakes and kept my cool, this was winnable. The final 10 floors were all about effectively using whatever resources you had left. Floor debuffs here were worse than ever, with a detrimental effect present on pretty much every new stage. Mobs are tanky as hell, requiring a solid minute of encounter.
Dude, if he
time
actually does this on his first attempt, that's crazy. Surely, there's only 5 minutes left of the video. Gotta be.
More with damage reducing debuffs present. A failed mechanic would still...
Deep Palace Mommy. Whoa, some of these mobs gonna get me acting up. Sheesh.
Instantly kill me, but the timer loomed once more as the greatest risk to my clear. Luckily, there are a lot of undead enemies on these final 10 floors, meaning I can use the last transformation pomander available to me, Resolution. Transforming into a Heavenly Karibu, you cast Heavenly Judgment, dealing a third of the undead mob's HP in a single hit. This was how I was going to claw back the slipping time, and I needed to use my 3 attempts really carefully. At 194, I got distracted again, this time making the classic streamer mistake.
Talking
one
to chat.
I've made before in a Deep Dungeon solo run, no less. I looked at chat, and I got hit by an AoE while I did so. Dead. Re-raise activates.
How do you get another one?
I've got nothing left. My buffs were gone, my reses were out. And if I made one more mistake throughout the rest of this run...
Oh yeah, he
I
had
would
one
have
more
just
left.
briefed away
Yeah. This was his final one. Okay.
a truly promising Necromancer attempt. And so I forged on. I pushed, I fought. I delved ever deeper.
Where's the first time you hear this song? I'm trying to remember what memory I should have right now.
As I exited floor 198 with a solid 10 minutes left on the timer, I couldn't help but smile. I had saved...
It's not flipping... It's not E8, is it? I think, does that play on E8? Is it E8? No. I think so. It's not. Okay, anyway, I'll think about it.
Saved my secret weapon in reserve this entire time. That last rage. Checking the coast was clear and scouting the exit came first, and then I smashed it. As the key unlocked, I stepped inside, and all my collective stress from the last 6+ hours evaporated. Well, almost. Wouldn't it be really funny if I disconnected, like right now? Yes. No, I'm just kidding. It was fine. It was more than fine. At the long last, I was the Necromancer.
Wait, what?
I had beaten it in a one.
Oh, that's for 200!
Length attempt. Despite the various misadventures.
Oh, there's no boss at the end. Oh.
That's spoiled.
Oh, that is spoilers. Damn.
That's a joke that everyone makes, though, is they're like, floor 200's the hardest boss.
Oh, man. Oh, that's a bummer. I actually wish I didn't know that. But that's okay. It's not the end of the world. But that would have been... I would have been like, oh, man, I gotta save some stuff for 200. What could it be?
It is nice there's the photo op bench that everyone takes pictures on.
Yeah, the Forrest Gump kind of situation. I feel tired. I think I'll go home. Is that his line? I think it's something like that. Yeah, Johnny, you can. Go for it, dude.
Adventures I'd had along the way. I was super happy. Heaven on High had taken me over 5 tries. Eureka Orthos had taken me 3. And now, as I sat on the victory bench of Palace of the Dead, alone, having cut down the number of attempts to just 1, I thought back on the whole experience. While the lower floors had been dreadfully dull, those final 30 floors on all 3 deep dungeons had been challenging, exhilarating, and more than anything, really fun. I had a great time. I almost wish I could go back and try them again, without needing to go through the monotonous slog that came before it. These pieces of content use an entirely different skill set to those you learn in the rest of FF14, and having to learn new ways to approach problems and think is really interesting, and I found it a very positive experience on the whole. To those thinking of attempting a solo deep dungeon yourself, I really recommend you give it at least a try. You might bounce off finding it uninteresting or the type of challenge that you aren't motivated to overcome, or you might find a new passion. There's a very dedicated community for this content, full of people that spend their time doing it as their main pastime in the game. There are those that have beaten every deep dungeon on every job, those that speedrun it, and they even have their own informal version of a world race. I remember watching Finn Bazal's stream as he raced to become the first player to solo Eureka Orthos on every job, and it was sick to watch. With another deep dungeon confirmed to be in the content pipeline for Dawntrail,
Who's
likely
that?
releasing as per usual with its 0.35 patch, while I'm definitely going to enjoy my break now, I'm looking forward to being in Mortal Fear for way too long than is healthy all over again next expansion. And hopefully, I'll see you there, sporting Necromancer titles of your own. Good luck.
Yo, Dawntrail hype. Dude, I think Dawntrail is probably going to be the sickest expansion, man. I can't wait for that to release. Dude, I bet everyone's going to love it. I bet everyone's going to absolutely love it. I can't wait. Nice soundboard.
Sorry, it was a joke.
It was a joke.
Honestly, just a joke.
Honestly, just a joke. Yeah, great video. Yeah, I love Rinon's videos. Like, I love that this was sort of like a guide, but sort of like a hype trailer. Bummed that I had floor 200 spoiled for me, but I'll be honest, I don't know if I would do this completely blind. I think doing this completely blind would be an adventure. I feel like maybe if I did this on stream with a guide, I think nobody would care. I think if I did it on stream blind, maybe people would be like, huh, I'll watch that. I'm gonna watch this idiot die a million times. Like, that could be interesting. But yeah, it would take a year blind. Maybe the new one on release I'll do blind. I'm not going to commit to doing it blind, but like, we'll see, dude. We'll see. But yeah, great video. Right, I just realized we're 7 minutes late for raid, so I got to get going. Sick, man.